Hi, Kinson.
Hi, Gary.
Great to have you here. It's great to have the V1 here. Yeah, can I hold it for a second? Of course, we're shooting with the V1, so there's two of them in the room here. Probably the only two in North America right now.
The only two on Earth.
The only two on Earth. Right, we're both very lucky to have one of these. Let's talk a little bit about the exposure and the white balance, because I've had such great results getting perfect quality white balance.
Yeah, it's very important to get, a lot of people don't really get this. I mean, we focus a lot of our efforts to get the auto white balance and also the auto exposure right. And those are very, very basic elements of photography, videography. In addition to that is, the coordinated auto white balance and coordinated auto exposure, because we are talking about 10 lenses here, and each of them would have to face, a certain direction of the light source. So what you want is to make sure that, all those 10 sources, when you end up with the 10 image files, when you line them up, it got to be very harmonized. You don't want to see, very clear, brightness difference, contrast difference, saturation difference. So the way we did the coordination of both the auto exposure and auto white balance is in such a way that they are very harmonized. And that is a lot on our own algorithms.
Yeah, and it was very effective for me when I was shooting down at the University of California in that lab, because the scene out the window was incredibly well exposed, just like the exposure inside. It was almost like an HDR image.
So we want people to leave that in coordination enabled. So it's fully automatic, so it will coordinate in itself. What you just need to do is to set the EV adjustment, plus or minus, to get the right exposure. And on that one, we do have a few different metering modes, the master, the average, and the weighted average, depending on what sort of scenes you are in. But the idea is just to make it easy for producers, for people to shoot 360, so that you leave that things behind you. So you just need to focus on the directing.
And that's totally true. It's essentially a point and shoot camera. You just turn the thing on. I think in this shot here, we're overexposing by plus 0.7. So, we just wanted to keep the shadows high enough where we can work with them in post. But we've got this, great scene out the window.
Yeah, this is a good contrast.
It's quite a high contrast situation.
Because it's 360, you can't hide.
No. And I've been just super impressed.
Hi, Gary.
Hey, Kinson. Let's talk a little bit about the form factor and the ergonomics and why it's this small. I kind of think that it looks a lot like a thermos that I use for my tea when I go out on a shoot.
Well, we put all these 10 lenses and sensors into such a small footprint, primarily because we want to make it a smaller system. Because the smaller the system, it allows you to get closer to the object. A lot of directors told us that they want close proximity. This is a stereoscopic VR camera, and for stereoscopic, it's always better to get into the scene, to get close to all the things that you can see the parallax.
And I've had lots of problems with other cameras where if I got anywhere closer than 4 feet, my eyes would start to hurt and things would look really artificial. And the results I've been getting with this so far are that it's so natural that you almost don't even notice that it's stereo, because it's just like looking with my eyes.
So natural, huh?
Yeah.
Because we have 10 lenses, as you can see, the lenses are pretty close to each other. So you get a lot of overlap across all these 10 lenses. So the more the overlap, the better the stereo. This is physics.
Tell me a little bit about the lenses, because you designed your own lenses for this camera.
Yeah, this is a custom-made equidistant fisheye lens. The MTF curve, if you are familiar with that, I'm sure you do, and it's a very good MTF curve for this lens. It's incredible.
Even at the edges,
it's incredible. It's almost flat up there.
What's the focal length?
The field of view of this lens is 190 degrees.
190 degrees.
Yeah.
So 190 degrees with a flat MTF means that you're getting lots of really good sharpness even in that stitching area.
towards the edge is all very good resolution, and you need that, you know, for the overlap.
Yes, and with 6K output, I can even read text inside my headset, which is pretty amazing for.
And it's 6K 60 because on the previous V1 Pro we launched, you know, it does the 8K at 30, but only 4K at 60.
Right.
So people have been asking, you know, they want higher frame rate at the same time, you know, higher resolution. So I think 6K at 60 frame is the answer to that.
It's definitely the sweet spot.
Right. Gary, this is so nice.
Here we are out in the garden in kind of a big dynamic range situation.
I like the orange.
Yeah, these are from our tree right down. I think we're going to do another shot right down there. So let's talk a little bit about dynamic range, because I've been just so impressed with some of the shots I've been getting. It's amazing.
This is actually a new Sony sensor. It's one 2.3 inch, but it's a new Sony sensor. With the new tech, they actually boost up the dynamic range.
That's a backside illuminated sensor?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, I looked it up. I looked the number up, yeah.
And with good dynamic range, you can handle this kind of contrast scene. I mean, where you see, you know, you face right up to the sun.
Yeah, this is a worst case situation.
You know, shadows.
A lot of shadow here.
And a good 360 professional camera should be able to handle this kind of environment.
Yeah, because it's a really common case.
Yeah. We don't want people to, you know, impose too many limitations, you know, that will limit the creativity.
And you must have had a lot of technical challenges because you wanted to make it really small, make the camera small to get good stereo and good proximity, and yet, you know, you wanted a sensor that was small but also provided really good dynamic
And the sensor
range.
works hand in hand with the lens as well, because, you know, we have to, pick a good fisheye lens, you know, and still in good control of flare. Because there will be flare. I mean, we cannot eliminate 100% of the flare.
Of course.
Flare will always be here. It's more about, you know, to what extent do you control the flare. And the lens we have picked for the V1, I think we have done a great job, you know, in terms of flare control.
Well, you designed or you specified the lens. It's a custom lens.
It's custom made for this particular camera.
Yeah,
it's a very good lens.
That's incredible.
Yeah, seeing is believing.
Yes, it is.
Hey, another very beautiful spot here.
And the oranges are ripe. We can eat some of those as soon as we're done. So again, I want to thank you for coming out here, and of course, you know, thank you for allowing me to do the pre-production testing on the V1. For me, as an independent filmmaker, I look at the V1 as a game changer because the quality is so high. The cost of the unit at under $9,000 is incredibly reasonable, and
that includes the stitching software.
Exactly. I mean, it's a complete package, and you know. The issue now in the 360 market is that VR in general is kind of in what the Gartner Group calls this trough of disillusionment, where the highs that we had a year and a half ago, we've kind of fallen off that into this place where now there has to be really compelling content that's going to drive the industry. And you know, we've got these new headsets coming out, the Oculus Go, the Lenovo Mirage Solo, the HTC Vive Focus, these, you know, great low-cost headsets. The Go is only $200, but of course these are 3 degree of freedom headsets. They're not 6 DoF headsets, and they're not really VR headsets. So what they really are perfect for is 360 video, and they're very high-resolution displays. And the bad quality 360 video is going to look really bad on these new displays. And as always, content drives the platform.
Of course.
Content is king, and there's no way that these headsets are going to turn into anything really exciting and build a really large market without super high quality imagery. And the V1 represents like a way for filmmakers to not have to hire a director of photography, not have to hire a stitching team, because all you have to do to stitch this stuff is load into the computer.
It's fully automatic.
It's totally automatic.
And now you have used it, I mean, you can tell how easy, how simple is it to operate. Because when we designed this camera, like any of our other VR cameras, you know, 2 things top of our mind is high quality, high image quality, and easy to operate.
Right.
You don't want to hand to the customer a piece of device which is very complicated. You need to hire a few people to operate. This one is, I mean, the workflow, both the in terms of recording, the shooting, and also
Super easy.
The stitching
Yep.
is fully automatic.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to press a button. You can preview. You can do all the settings on an iPhone. Very handy.
It was kind of hard to believe for me, coming from very complex workflows in the 2D filmmaking
Used to be,
world,
yeah.
and then even the other 360 cameras that I
Right.
tried stitching and using Mystica VR and really trying to get things looking right and very even across the 360 sphere. That stuff was really hard to do, and I can't believe that I can come home from a shoot, automatically ingest the footage and press a button.
The idea is to make it a very simple workflow, so that the directors and the production crew, the team, the studio, they can concentrate more on the creativity, on the directing, on the scenes, not to worry too much about the tech, about how to nurse the camera.
It's right, because there's so much to think about with 360 filmmaking, that because it's so different than traditional filmmaking, that all of my brain really needs to be focusing on how I'm going to block the shot, choreograph the shot, what's the story, how am I going to make it immersive, and the last thing I want to think about is what the camera is doing.
And that slowed down the development of VR, as you rightly point out. I mean, now then, with more affordable and high quality headsets in the market, so you need more content, good quality content, stereoscopic content to let audience get more immersive experience when they watch it in the headset. So with good camera, I mean, you can produce high quality content in an easier way.
Absolutely. Hey, let's go for a little walk.
Let's do that.
All right. Cut.